Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV. We're taking a look today at the new HP Dragonfly G4. This is a very lightweight and actually nicely performing 13-inch laptop. It is very portable, but you can do a lot with it. And we're going to take a closer look at this and what it's all about in just a second. But I do want to let you know, in the interest of full disclosure, that this is on loan from HP. So we're done with this. It goes back to them. All the opinions you're about to hear are my own. No one is paying for this review, nor has anyone reviewed or approved what you're about to see before it was uploaded. So let's get into it now and see what this laptop is all about. Now, the price point on this is all over the place, and I would suggest you head over to their website and check out their configuration options, where you can build this according to what your budget will allow. This particular model is kind of like their Road Warrior corporate executive laptop, and it is priced accordingly. So this model is $2,279, quite pricey, but I think you can get into one for far less than that if you configure options the way that you want. You can actually get this one with free DOS loaded instead of Windows, believe it or not, so you can even avoid having to pay the Windows licensing fee if you wanted to install something different on it. So lots of options here, but the one we're looking at today is the one that they sent us at that price point. Surprisingly, the display on this corporate Road Warrior model is not all that nice compared to what some of the other models can be configured with. So this particular one has a 1920 by 1280 display. All of them are in a 3:2 aspect ratio, by the way, so you've got a nice amount of height here, which works very well, I think, for document editing. Now, this is the low-end display. It doesn't have a touch panel on it. It runs at 400 nits at 60 hertz. And it only supports 72% of the NTSC color gamut. But again, you can find displays through that customization option that go up to OLED for the panel technology, then have touch displays, and also displays with more brightness. So I think you can find something that works well for the creative types in addition to the Road Warrior types here. Now, they also let you configure processor, RAM, and storage. This one has an i7 1365U processor on board, 16 gigabytes of non-upgradable RAM, and 512 gigabytes of upgradable storage. You can swap out the NVMe drive and put in a larger one if you want. HP has a great YouTube channel where they show you how to take it apart and swap out components. So if you did want to upgrade the storage in the future, you can do that with HP's official video as the guide. Now, the weight on this is only 2.2 pounds or about 1 kilogram. It is made out of magnesium. It is incredibly lightweight, but you're not losing much in the way of performance for the portability here. And I think having the taller display helps out quite a bit. The battery life is also very good on this. If you keep the display brightness down and stick to the basic kinds of tasks, I'm finding about 12 hours of battery life on this, and I think you could probably squeeze out more. If you do go with those nicer displays, that will eat into the battery life more significantly. But on the lower end display here, I think you're going to do quite well for battery longevity. So very portable, good performance, as you'll see in a minute, and great battery life. It kind of checks all the boxes, which is why these come in at a more premium price point. The keyboard is very nice on this as well. It is backlit. You've got nicely spaced keys here that are easy to type on. Decent travel to the keys as well, even though it is a bit of a thin laptop. A very nice trackpad here that is quite large. This is a mechanical trackpad, not one of those new haptic ones, so you can't click all the way at the top here, but it's clickable from about here on down, but a nice large trackpad surface on it. A good amount of ports on this one too. If we take a look at the left-hand side here, you can see a full-size HDMI port. This is, I believe, a spot for a SIM card, which this model doesn't support. I'm not sure if there are any that do. Here you've got a Thunderbolt 4 port. This is a full service port, so it can do charging, it can do data devices, and of course it can do video output as well. And you've got another Thunderbolt port here on the other side, so you can dock this with one of those cool docking stations with a single cable and get all your power and everything else going in and out of it with a single connection when you bring it into the home or office. You have a lock slot here, a headphone microphone jack here, and it's got one of these compact HP USB ports with the little door on it. So this is a full-size USB-A port. So if you had a webcam or something you wanted to plug in, that's got one of those larger USB connectors. You can pop it in right there. So all in, a very nice compact device here that is incredibly lightweight. It's got good audio on it too. It's got 4 speakers, so you get a good range of sound. It's not too tinny. So altogether, it feels like a nice premium package. Let's take a look now and see how it performs. Now we're going to start off with the webcam here in the performance section because there are some neat things that this computer can do with multiple webcams. Now I do want to talk about the webcam first. It's up here at the top. You've got a button that will disable the camera with a single push and put a shutter up in front of it so you get some privacy without having to put tape on it. This is also your biometric ID, so if you want to get into the laptop, you can look at the laptop and it will let you in. When you step away, there's a feature that will lock it as well, so you do get some cool features with this webcam right out of the gate. The visual quality on the webcam is really nice. It's got a very nice contrast ratio, as you can see here, and it's able to kind of pull out the shadows under my hat there while still providing a very nice high-quality image. It shoots video at 1440p. Now I've got this piece of software loaded up here, an HP-specific piece of software called the Video Control. And what it lets you do is actually work with multiple webcams. So I can drag in a second camera here into the mix. And if I divert my attention away from one webcam and look at the other, it will actually switch camera views as I divert my attention. So if I go back to this camera now, you'll see once it sees me out of frame, it'll pull me up on this one. And what it's looking for is where my face is focused on in order to switch the camera. So if you are a university professor that has to get up and do a presentation at a board where you've got a separate camera, it'll be able to follow you to that other location without having to hit any buttons first. And this HP camera software presents itself as a webcam, so it'll work with most applications that support webcams. So right now, I've got Zoom pulled up here. I selected the HP enhanced camera as my camera. And if I look away and put my other camera in front of me here, it will do that switch, as you can see. And then if I put it back and look back at the other camera, it will then switch back. So it's got some neat smarts to it. It only looks for faces, so it's not going to work with other things that you might want to draw attention to. But there's some other things with this software that I thought were kind of neat, so let's take a look at what those things are. So right now I've got it in mixer mode where we've got 2 images side by side. And if I jump over to Zoom, you can see that we've got my webcam image here along with my overhead camera that I've piped through the system here looking down. And I can very easily switch this to a different view. Let's say I want to do a picture-in-picture. And now I've got that. I can move that window over to where I want it to be. And if I jump back over here, you can see that Zoom is doing what we set up on the HP Video Control software. So very quick and easy to do something like this. And what's nice about this is that normally you'd have to load up OBS or some other video production software. This is kind of built in, which I think is simpler for people to use. It's not nearly as robust as OBS or vMix or something like that, but it works here, which is really nice. One thing I'm noticing is that it does have a little bit of a frame rate hit when you have this mode activated. Not so big of a deal for a Zoom call, but certainly if you were recording something for a webinar or whatever, it's going to be problematic, and that's where I would say go with some dedicated software for the task. And there's one other neat thing that this can do. Let me set it up and show you. So now I've got my overhead camera here front and center. I'm going to turn on the automatic Keystone, and what this looks for are documents. So if I drop this piece of paper down here on the computer, as you can see, it found the document, it zeroed in, and it rotated it in the right direction. I can hit a button to make a PDF out of it. But this is also right now piping over, let me get my Zoom window up here. This is piping over to Zoom. So while I'm on my Zoom call, it'll focus in on the document only. It's like having an overhead projector that can find its own way here. And as I adjust things, sometimes it needs to see the edges of the paper again here, but it's been pretty good about finding documents and putting them up on screen. What it doesn't do, unfortunately, is look for objects. I thought would have been really killer here is that if the camera could detect when I put an object down that I'm referring to and then automatically switch to that and keep it in frame, but still this document thing actually works pretty well. And it gets that document and right sizes it. It can also do some keystoning adjustments as well to kind of get it into a more square perspective. So pretty cool. And I think if you are somebody that's doing a lot of Zoom calls and don't want to futz around with some other video solution for multi-camera or want to do something like you're seeing here, it's actually really easy to work with this because the software is built in. There's nothing special in the hardware that does this. This is just something HP bundles with the computer that you can't run on another PC. Now, as far as other tasks are concerned, I found it to be very responsive, doing all the basic work things that you'll likely do on this. So web browsing, as you can see here, is super fast and responsive. No issues browsing the web or doing Word documents and Excel documents and that sort of thing. All good on that front. This also has Wi-Fi 6E on board, so you'll have the latest and greatest on Wi-Fi technology available to you there. And I also found doing YouTube and other video services to be just fine. You will see a couple of drop frames on higher frame rate videos initially when you first start playing them, but after that, everything smooths out and it's able to keep up without issues. So Netflix and all the other streaming services will be fine here. Now, this is one area where having a 3x2 display may not be ideal for some. Let me get the stats for nerds out of the way here. And once all the words here go away, you're going to see that we do have some pretty large bezels or letterboxing on the top and bottom of the image here. And that's because this 16:9 video has to conform with this 3x2 display. So you do get black bars on a lot of the media that you're going to consume on it. But beyond that, I like having this taller display for doing work on this laptop. And on the browserbench.org speedometer benchmark test, we got a score of 321. That is right within the margin of error of other 13th generation Intel processors that we have looked at recently. And the Intel processor here should work well for video editing. Right now we've got DaVinci Resolve running with a 4K 60 frames per second project. I'm going to grab a quick cross dissolve here and drop it onto the timeline, and let's see what this does to the system here. And as you can see, not too bad on rendering that out in real time. You're not going to be able to do some higher end stuff without connecting an external GPU to this, but if you're doing the kind of video work like I do here on the YouTube channel, you might be able to get by with this doing some basic types of editing like what you just saw. So let's take a look at some games now. We first ran Fortnite here at the native resolution at low settings, and we were getting between 40 and 80 frames per second depending on what was going on in the game. As you can see here, without a lot to render on screen, it performs better than when it has to render something, but nonetheless, it was always above 30 frames per second and very, very playable here. And of course, you can squeeze more frame rate out if you reduce the resolution. We also ran Red Dead Redemption 2. This game, of course, is a lot more demanding. This one we also ran at the native resolution of the display and set everything at their absolute lowest settings. And we were getting around 30 to 35 frames per second, which is pretty good, I think, and in line with other 13th generation Intel devices that we have tested recently. So although this is not a gaming machine per se, it can play games, and games can be a nice casual supplement to the other things that you do on the laptop. And on the 3D Mark TimeSpy benchmark test, we got a score of 1,773. This is right where I expected this processor to perform, so very good graphical performance out of this. We also ran the 3D Mark stress test, and there we got a passing score of 99.4%. And what this test indicates is that we're not seeing a lot of thermal throttling here. The computer will maintain its consistency of performance even when it's under heavy extended loads, like what games or video editing might do to the machine. The fan is not all that noisy on it. It is certainly audible. They have a couple of different thermal settings that you can adjust on it. So if you don't want to hear the fan, you can put it into a mode that will keep the fan largely silent, but that of course comes at the cost of performance. But if you're just doing some web browsing or movie watching, it's fine to leave it in that mode, but I would suggest if you're playing a game or doing some photo or video editing to put it into the performance mode to get the most out of it. All right, one last thing to take a look at here, and that is its Linux performance. It does okay insofar as getting the video correct and the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth working. Unfortunately, though, the audio is not working, at least at the moment, and this is with the latest version of Ubuntu, and the webcam doesn't work either. So I think if you get some drivers down the road, you could probably get this working. I know that HP has that FreeDOS configuration, so perhaps there are some drivers available, but out of the gate, it does not detect all the hardware automatically, and you'll need to do a little bit of legwork to get Linux functioning perfectly on this one. But overall, a very nice Windows laptop for sure. I really like the performance on this one, the consistency of the performance, and how lightweight and portable it is. And I do suggest spending some time in that configurator to find the right combination of components that fits your budget. That's going to do it for now. Until next time, this is Lon Seidman. Thanks for watching.
This channel is brought to you by the Lon.TV supporters, including gold level supporters Brian Parker, Chris Allegretta, Hot Sauce and Video Games, Logic KGR, Tom Albrecht, and Amda Brown. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to Lon.TV/support to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit Lon.TV/s.